Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, good morning, good morning. It's time to rise and shine. Oh, my mute's off.
Morning, everyone.
Morning,
Good
Martha.
morning.
All right, I'm just gonna get set up here.
And how is our mama to be doing?
A bit of a rough morning so far, but we're good.
I could see that a bit.
Yeah.
You're in our prayers every day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Doing the best we can.
You've earned that, baby. You did your hair again.
Nope.
Oh. I had to laugh the other day. We had actually 10 degrees, which is 40 in Fahrenheit.
Mhm.
And I had the windows open in the bathroom and in the kitchen. And I said, in a few months from now, I'll be closing the windows because it's too cold. Now I'm opening them because it's warm.
I know. We opened ours a few times this week too.
It's all in perspective.
Okay. Okay, we are now live on Facebook. So today we're going to be talking about how to use national holidays to gain more engagement on social media and how to really use them for excitement and conversation starters. One of the things that we lightly focused on this week from corporate was Brain Awareness Week, as some of you saw a little bit of that, but we actually have in the next few weeks on April 7th is World Health Day. And so we're going to be doing some bigger things for that on April 7th. And there's also going to be another virtual event on April 4th. So there's going to be two virtual events going on April 4th and 7th. Next week, we're going to talk more specifically about how to use this once I get a little bit more information. But today we wanted to talk to you guys about how to use national days to just promote your business. And even though national or what's called Brain Awareness Week is ending, I believe tomorrow, we can still use things all month long, right? And so it's just to help bring some attention, how to reinvigorate your social media. We talked last week about what should I be doing in a day. We talked about taking an audit of your Instagram, of your Facebook, and going, how many times does my face show up? And I'd love to hear, just even in the chat, if anybody felt like this week that they did a little bit more of that, whether you did a Facebook Live or you put yourself in some stories or you just shared a photo of yourself. I'd love to hear in the chat whether or not you did that. And if you didn't, I would love to hear if you're willing to share just maybe some reasons why you didn't or anything like that. Arlene did a Facebook Live and Reels. Amazing. That's huge. That's huge. Good job. Martha did her first live yesterday. Yay.
Oh
That's very exciting. Your first one. I love that. Great job. And we'll definitely talk about some different Facebook Live tips as well. First in a long time. That's okay. Still very exciting. So yeah, last week we talked about just really showing up. And I think that for a lot of us, the conversation resonated about, when we I used two different metaphors, like the plane and the restaurant, right? And that our job is not to be like the cook in the back or the person flying the plane. We're the waiter, we're the server, we're like the host with the most, right? We are the person that is in charge of building the relationship with our customers, with our clients, with our potential leads, because we allow Manitech to really take the expert role. And that's what I love too about national days or, any of those sort of weeks or highlights of months, right? Last month we had, beginning of this month, yeah, it's March still. I'm like, I don't know what month it is. We had International Women's Day. We had this Brain Awareness Week just this past week. And there's so many that happen all the time. And what can really be great about those is one, it gives us a bit of a reason to post, right? Sometimes we think like, I don't know why I should post today or what I should possibly post about, but keeping in touch with a few of those sort of days or weeks or month highlights can really help us like keep a focus and give us a purpose for showing up. And plus two, we actually know that around holidays, so I don't necessarily mean like Christmas or Easter, but those are two obviously huge ones. But around even smaller holidays or international or national, donut day, things like that, engagement actually increases huge on social media. People are really engaged during the holidays. And I remember we talked about this during the holiday season, like why you should post more, because people are more likely to engage with you. People are in, better spirits during the Christmas holidays and things like that. During Easter, they're looking for more connection. But things like that can get people really interested. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about some different ways we can utilize, or the importance of utilizing, national holidays into our social marketing, which is really going to help us prepare. There's a little bit we can, of course, like do right now, and I'll share an example. But we have this like bigger one coming up, which is World Health Day, which I think really resonates with so many of us into like why we do what we do, and is such an important part of your why story with Manatech. Like, why are you with Manatech? Why is this important to you? Why are you passionate about this? There's some form of a health aspect, I think, for each and every single one of us. All right, so we're just going to talk about first some reasons why these are so important. Like I mentioned, social media holidays provide exceptional organic reach, right? We talked about this during the holiday season as well, but this is very true for even just some of those smaller things like national, like I said, Donut Day or Brain Awareness Week, things like that. Now, we're going to talk in a few minutes too about how we're not going to adopt every single national holiday that's out there. We don't have to use every single one, because I swear you can find something for everything. You can just do a quick Google search for like international days, and it'll give you a whole big list. But we do know that reach increases on posts that make mention to either the holidays or national or international days like this. So that alone, like this point alone, makes it a no-brainer to talk about these sort of things on your social media. And it creates like something, sort of fun for people to engage with. We also know that, so research shows that 87% of consumers would buy from a brand that supports issues they care about. So some of these international and national days are just fun things like National Donut Day or National like Ride a Bike Day or things like that, but some of them carry greater significance. So for example, this week is Brain Awareness Week, right? And so this is put on by an organization that wants to bring more information about brain science, things that we should be doing to enhance our brain function, like the importance of it. Even for me, like when seeing this was something that hit home because Alzheimer's runs in my family. And so I'm always making sure, just even I'm doing little like word searches and crosswords and brain teaser things on my phone to try to keep myself nice and sharp. So when things mention brain function products, things like that, I'm just genuinely a little bit more interested because the story hits home. And that's what can happen a lot of the time when we use some of these different days, is that, Mary just said her too. Yes, exactly. So we have these stories, right? When we talk about our why story, our vision statement, why we're doing this, it's because, like I mentioned, we have stories that connect to these reasons. And, even just I said, and Mary Jo just shared, Alzheimer's runs in our family. And so it's something that's of greater importance to us to protect in ourselves because we've experienced it with people that we love, and we've seen what something like that disease can do. And knowing that there's ways that we can prevent it or curb it or prolong it, etc., are really beneficial and really intriguing to us. But even just in general, so like, for example, anything that normally has to do with, I'll just use the example of Alzheimer's, I will regularly give to. So whether it's a charity or a fundraiser or a brand that is doing something to support it, it makes me more likely to go, do you know what? I've been meaning to buy, or I've been semi-interested in buying this product, but now that they've aligned themselves with this cause, right? We know this through the M5M Foundation, like how that can really help connect us to people. And national holidays can do the same thing, right? And so we know that 87% of consumers will buy from people, and I say brand, but that includes us too as personal brands that support issues they care about. And so if you're not vocal about why you're passionate, what you're passionate about, what you stand for, not only from Manatech, right, as a corporate or global brand, but you as a personal brand. Like, why did you start this? Share your story around this, because it will push people over the fence. There's a lot of customers we have, and I want to preface this too with, of course, we want to share these things because we're also genuinely like being authentic, and they're important to us. But of course, as a business, when we take this into perspective, we know it's not icky to include our products in these conversations because we're not selling products. I remember somebody, a teacher, a professor in university said this, the difference between persuasion and manipulation. He said, when you manipulate somebody in sales, you're convincing them to buy a product that you know they don't need, that you know that it does not work, that you know that is just like junk, whatever. You'll say anything just to get the sale on a product you don't stand behind. Persuasion, on the other hand, is convincing someone to buy something you know that they need. Something you know that the product is good, that you stand behind it. And so if anytime you feel a little uncomfortable about, I want to talk about something I'm passionate about, but how do I weave in my product here? Because I don't want to seem inauthentic. Remember that. That's stuck with me since my university days, of the difference between manipulation and persuasion. And so when I have been in that position of, is it too icky to bring up my business? I remind myself, I'm not manipulating this person. I'm persuading them because I know that this is going to help them in the long run. I know that this has been an integral part of my growth and development, and I want to share that with somebody else. It comes from a real authentic place. So remind yourself of that difference between persuasion and manipulation. So again, there's a lot of people, so kind of going back, there's a lot of customers that you have, or leads, let's say, that you have, that are sitting on the fence. Right? You have the fence and you have the grass and the grass. On one side, you have your customers who've jumped off and they're actually actively buying products from you. You have people on the other side of varying degrees, whether they're super far away because they're never going to buy, or they're learning more and they're getting a little bit closer. But you have a lot of people that are sitting just on the fence for a variety of reasons, whether they need more convincing, whether they need to feel more connected to you. And majority of the times, I will say it's just because of pure procrastination. There's actually a direct seller that I messaged last week, and I said, hey, like, I really want to put in an order for this product. And so it was a few makeup products. And so I sent her a message and she walked me through it, and she actually upsold me on a few different things. And I was like, amazing, like, this is what I want. And she was like, great. So do you want me to put it in the order in for you? That way, like, it'll just come to me and then I can ship it to your house, because she likes to add little things to her orders. And I said, yeah, that's perfect. And I said, what's the total? Because I'll e-transfer you the money. She sent me the total. That was last week. I have not sent the e-transfer. And she followed up with me today, and I said, oh my gosh, like, Jonna, thank you so much for reminding me. I'm so sorry. Like, just life happens. I like turned into something else. I have pregnancy brain. I forgot. I have the best intentions in shopping with her, but I haven't. Right. And that's, like I said, it's just people majority of the time do want to buy from you, but we can't be so afraid. I'm so glad that she followed up. I'm so glad. And she knows, she's like experienced me as a trainer as well. So she knows better than to not follow up with me. And because I've shared before, people who do business with me badly end up in a story and a training, but so don't do that to me. But yeah, so again, like, there's people that are sitting on the fence, right? And they're just waiting, and they need a little bit of that pushover. And so things that can push someone over the fence, number one is always going to be follow-up, right? It's just reminding people and asking, like, she hasn't messaged me back, but what I would tell her to say, working with someone like me, right? Because I said that to her, and then what did I do? I went and got on a training. right? So I'm not even sending it to her right now. And I'm talking about it right now. So hopefully I remember to send it to her after this, but I might not. And what I would want her to do is say, great, thanks so much. Like, glad you're going to send that over today. If I don't hear from you in the next few hours, do you want me to remind you? Yes, please. Again, that's customer service. That's not begging for a sale. That's not pestering for a sale. That's not manipulating somebody or bugging somebody. That's saying you're a really busy person. And I get that. And I just want to make sure that you get the products that you're asking for. Right? Because otherwise, if I don't put that order in, then I'm going to go buy it somewhere else while I'm out and about. And also my opinion of her changes. But how does this relate back to some of these national holidays? Is that sometimes just talking about something that can intrigue somebody, interest somebody, evoke feelings and emotion can push them off that fence. It can even jog their memory to go, right, like I need to message Arlene. I've been meaning to follow up with her, or I've been meaning to respond to the last private message that she sent me. And we know, because everything is based off of our actions plus our algorithm, right? Ooh, that's good. I love alliteration. Actions plus algorithm. So what we do in our business, how we show up, what do we say, how many times do we follow up? But also, like, how am I engaging the algorithm? And if I know that anything to do with international holidays or National Day of whatever, World Health Day gets exceptionally higher organic reach, right? I know then between my follow-up and posting things that intrigue my audience and posts that are more likely to get seen, equal greater success for me online, because it's not just about my actions and it's not just about my algorithm. I love that Martha said I set alarms on my phone often to be reminded. Yes, because we're well-intentioned people, right? Most of your customers who've never bought from you, or your leads who've never bought from you that you've spoken with, have meant to. They just haven't. And your job as a business owner is to follow up. And so this combination of follow up versus utilizing things like this online can really help your exposure. And moreover, you can establish a more personal and warmer connection with your audience. We talked last week a lot about this. We talked a lot about how do I build more personal relationships? How am I supposed to show up, right? We talked about if you had a few hours in a day, what are most of you inclined to do? Go try to read a bunch of studies to become more knowledgeable about gut health? Or do you go make more relationships? A lot of us leaned towards trying to be more of the expert, when in reality, that's not necessarily our job. Of course, a great server in a restaurant knows about the food. They know how to, they know how to pair it to a wine. They have some knowledge around what it is that they're serving, but they don't have to go back there and actually cook it, right? Their job is meet the people, and the information that I learned, how is this going to serve the people that I'm waiting on, the people that I'm doing business with? And that's what our intention always needs to be. Is this serving my connections with my customers? Because I only need to know the bare minimum in order to really gain their trust. And then I point them back to the expert, which is Manatech. And so when you do things like this, fun things like this, that we know that people engage with more often, that we know that you're able to share a certain side of you, whether it's, a side of sharing a personal story. For example, if I had a Manatech business, I would really use Brain Awareness Week and talk about Alzheimer's in my family. I would share my personal story of, what I've gone through. And, I've gone back and forth a few times of whether or not I would ever want to get tested to see if I have the Alzheimer's gene and things like that. But in the meantime, I do things to really support not getting it and not, being diagnosed with that. But so that's something that I would do. So create that connection there. Or rather it's something like that's quirky or funny, right? It could be like something National Donut Day and that you use it in a fun and interesting way. It's showing your personality, right? We talked about that last week. True success in your business is personality plus expertise. Are you showing your personality? And it's an easy way to do that through fun little national days like this. And it can just create fun energy for your followers, right? It's something that they're interested in. We know that most posts on social media should do one of a few things. It should educate our followers, it should inspire them, or it should entertain them. right? Oh, the hashtags. That's what you mean. I think we didn't know if you meant the phone number or the hashtag. Don't forget the phone number. I was like, very true with follow up. But yes, to make sure that you're utilizing hashtags because it does increase your exposure there too. We talked about that a bit last week also. Last week was a really great call. So if you weren't on it, I definitely suggest checking that out. But yeah, it creates this fun energy, right? Because we know people are more likely to engage with it. It's not so centered on our product. It's not so centered on our business. It really gives us this space to talk about something that's important to our business, which can open up conversations. It gets people more interested and it evokes emotion. Like I said, your posts always on social media should aim to inspire, educate, or entertain your community. All right. So, as I mentioned, also, it can help develop your brand personality, which we talked so much about last week as being an integral part of being successful online is, do people know me? Am I showing off who I am? Am I showing my face? Am I showing my voice? Am I hopping on Facebook Live, right? Am I really being the voice and the figurehead and the spokesperson for my business? So the holidays that you choose also can really help this because it will help you to choose, help you participate more in developing this brand personality. So making use of this, you can strategically join events that you want your brand to be associated with. For example, World Health Day or Brain Awareness Week. And like I mentioned, next week, because it is the 7th, but our first event for World Health Day will be on the 4th. So next Saturday and not the following one, is the following one will be April 2nd. And that's only like 2 days, right? So that's not enough time. So next week, we're going to talk like very specifically about World Health Day. But yeah, you want to think about, what do I want to be associated with? And what I love about this is, how many of you use any sort of type of calendar for your business, whether it's in your hand or online? Great. So one of the things you can do is just look up like national holidays in 2022, right? And you can go through and put some of those into your calendar that you as a brand want to be associated with, and that what you like really want to share. What I love about paper calendars, I will say, is that even if I've missed something where it's like, oh, next year I want to make a bigger deal about International Women's Day, and I want to talk about women in business, and I want to talk about women in direct sales and what direct sales has afforded women, and et cetera. Even though it's past, put it in your calendar, right? From that year. And then what I would do, or you can put it, if you're using electronic, you can put it into the following year already. But what I always used to do is I would put it in, pretend this is a calendar. I would put it in, and then when I was making my plans for 2023, I would look at my 2022 calendar and I'd go like, what did I miss? What did I want to do different? Even if I totally botched a campaign, I would write notes in my calendar of, here's what didn't work and here's why I want to do better next year. So when I sat down for a year to look at, what do I want to do, whether it's, this quarter or over the entire year, I had some of that information there. So for example, if you need to position your brand as quirky and cool, you can participate in corresponding themed holidays. So like I said, something like Donut Day, or something that is, national, I don't know, like, I can't even think of one right now, but like roller skate backwards. I have no idea. There's all these crazy ones out there, and it doesn't mean that all of them though are going to be relevant for your business. And that's where I see a lot of people falter, is they'll just go look up, is there a national holiday today or this week? And they'll post something that just is really jarring and doesn't really resonate with their audience. There is a trainer who, I just forgot his name. I will look, Brock Johnson. And he's on Instagram, and he talks a lot about Reels and TikToks. And one of the things that he posted the other day was, he talked about what happens if you post a Reel or a TikTok that goes viral, but it's not in your like niche community. So he really says, like, don't post things that aren't within your niche community, because even if they go viral, right? So let's say, for example, you did something with like National Donut Day, and it has nothing to do with your business. You're like, I'm more health focused. I don't eat donuts. I don't want to talk about sugar, whatever. If you did something and that garnered a lot of engagement, people are going to expect more of that type of content from you. So when you flip over into something maybe the next week, why sugar is bad, you're alienating your clients who just, engaged with you. And if you got more followers from that viral post, they're only going to stick around if you're producing that same type of content. Where you can take something like National Donut Day and talk about, let's say it's National Donut Day. Here are some great substitutes that you can make today with your kids to have a fun, playful day with them, but isn't like pumping them full of sugar, right? There's other things that you can do. You can take them as is, or you can take them and say, here's how you should celebrate it instead. But again, it's just really easy ways to come up with something to say. I know a lot of us have a hard time thinking, I don't know, Lindsay, what I should post, what I should focus on. These can help just trigger us a little bit. All right. So for example, we're going to talk a little bit right now about Brain Awareness Week and what is something we could sort of do with this. So Brain Awareness Week was the 14th to the 20th. It's something that we came to like sort of midweek, but is something corporately that we're wanting to put into the calendar to make sure that we do make a bigger deal of next year. And so just for some information about what this is, because it is something, even though it ends tomorrow, is something that you can take throughout the rest of the month, right? You can say March 14th to 20th was Brain Awareness Week, and here's what I learned from it, right? And then you can continue to share with your followers. But it's a global campaign to foster public enthusiasm and support for brain science. So every March, so this is something that they're saying is ongoing, partners host imaginative activities in their communities that share the wonders of the brain and the impact brain science has on our everyday lives. So let's look a little bit more at that. So what are some ways that we could use this in our business? Well, number one, brainawareness.org, and maybe I can just even put that in, or here, I'll just do that there in the chat. Has a lot of different resources that you can use in your marketing. This is also why I love national or international holidays or awareness weeks or awareness months, is that there's usually an organization behind that's sponsoring this, and they have so much content that you can take and share on your own page, right? So you're not having to, again, go become an expert in any of these things. You're getting to utilize resources that they have. And so I highly suggest that you go check that website out. It's very intriguing. There's a lot of different things there. They have not only studies and reports and information, they also have fun and educational games and activities that you can share with your audience. Right? It's all right there. How many of you saw, and I'm going to show an example of it in a few slides. How many of you went on our Instagram on Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday, and saw that in our stories, we did like a truth or myth poll. Did anyone see that on our Instagram stories? I'm going to show you an example of it, but all I did was I went to this website and they had a truth or myth game. And so I said, I'm going to post this in the Instagram stories and we're going to see how it does. We're going to see, is this more engaging? We're going to see what the feedback is with this. And again, it's giving something for the audience members to do, which we know that activity triggers what? The algorithm. Activity triggers the algorithm. Activity from the account and activity from people who are engaging with the account. Right? And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So they have things like that there. We know that people are more invested in entertainment, education, and emotions rather than products, right? So I think we've all heard this from the second you stepped into direct sales, is sell the benefits, not the features, right? We've heard that, focus on the benefits, not the features. And what a lot of us do is we focus on the features. Have you ever seen that example of, and I know I'm going to butcher it, where a sales teacher asks a student to sell a pen? And he does it with a few different students. And, they're like, oh, well, it's clear so you can see how much ink you have left. It's really easy to take the cap off, but it stays, it's easy to write. Not convincing the teacher to buy this because everyone's focusing on the features, right? And so what happens is he gives it to a student And the student says, I'd love your autograph. And the teacher goes, great, but I don't have a pen. He goes, oh, I have one. And the teacher pointed him out saying, he sold me on a feature. He gave me a use for the pen versus trying to tell me like why I should buy it and like look at, you know, the function of it and look at how it writes and look at how it looks and things like that. None of that was just information that wasn't compelling him to do anything. We have to move into action and features. And so when we are thinking about a lot of how we show up online with our business, we focus on the product in a way where we're discussing the features, but how can we discuss the benefits? Something like this, we can go, okay, here is the story, here is the, you know, the thing we need to be concerned about or curious about or inspired by or think more about or take more seriously. And then here's a product that supports that. So we're going to show you what we did. And then it can be a way to connect with your community and create that just exciting theme to your content, which also really lends to what we talked about a few weeks ago about how to do launches, right? And we don't always know how to come up with a launch theme. Looking at national holidays or awareness weeks or awareness days can help you select a focus for that month. So you're like, yeah, I could obviously choose anything out of, you know, a hat. Sorry, one sec. Or I can look to a national holiday that, number one, I know other people may already be talking about. That's another really like awesome thing about national holidays is that you may not be the only business or brand that's talking about it. And that doesn't mean that you're competing with other people and so you should sit out of the conversation. It means that more businesses and more brands and more people are talking about it. So it's bringing more and more awareness to it. Right? So they may see the importance of it or the fun of it even more. So let's look at an example. So I went to the website, okay, and and like I said, there's a lot of information there, but there's also some fun activities. So even when you just click resources and activities for kids and adult, these were just the first three that came up, but there's a lot more than this. So there's truth or myth flashcards. There's different like brain puzzles. So how could we use these sort of things? Well, number one, you could take these and you could offer them in your Facebook group. You could say, hey, everyone, it's Brain Awareness Week. Here's why it's important to me. And not only that, I offered some fun games and activities to help stimulate your brain function and learn more about brain science. You can grab those in my Facebook group. And you're just going to share, you can just share the link directly to this website or to this specific activity, or you can click this download button like it says here, and then you can share those to your community, right? It's an easy free gift to get people to move over to a place where you know you're talking more about your products. So that's one really great way that we can use them. Another way that we can use them is in events that we're hosting. So if we're doing any sort of events, we've talked about online events before, and we'll definitely come back to it. But if you're doing any sort of virtual or even in-person events where you're talking to multiple people at once, sorry guys, I have a bit of congestion today. You can use games like this as well in your event to spark participation and engagement. But then you can also use this in your Facebook or your Instagram stories. So we talked about stories at length a few different times. And last week we talked about them and how they're really great for showing off your personality, right? And so stories also allow for gamification. And I'm going to show you some action buttons that you can actually post onto your stories on both Instagram and Facebook to help garner more engagement. So people just aren't looking at your content, but they're actually participating in it. So all I did on Thursday was I took this truth or myth flashcards right here, and I opened it up on my phone, and I like quite literally, I just screenshot every card and I reposted it to our Instagram stories. Because when you do download this, it's like with the intention of printing out. And so you can like cut them. But I just took little screenshots of each card and cropped it to look a certain way. So let's look at what that looked like. So for example, I posted on the left in one story. So truth or myth, learning occurs when new cells are added to the brain. I added this right here. Do we see this vote with the truth and myth option? This is an action button that is available to you on both Instagram and Facebook in stories. So what happens, I could have posted this without this button, and then on the next slide, just posted myth, right? So anyone who's reading it, they're just going to say to themselves, do I think that this is a truth or a myth? Well, maybe I think it's truth. Okay, and then I go to your next slide and it suddenly says myth, and I get to read why. Yes, that could be, effective for your customer or your follower or your, Facebook friend to still engage with and learn from. But we know that people like, number one, engaging and clicking buttons, but two, it doesn't give you any insight into who's actually playing this game that you're offering or activity. Because when they do select truth or myth, not only are you able to see the percentage of, what option is likely or more likely other than the other being selected, when you look at your insight, or so when you're looking at your own story, you can actually see who voted which answer. And why is that important for follow-up? Right? And we know who's engaging. What I love about the percentages too is that, 48% of people, so why wouldn't they go to the Dana Foundation? Because people, we talked about this a bit last week too, which I think is really cool. People are lazy.
That's true.
People are lazy people, and people want to stay on social media, right? And so people there's only a certain percentage of the population that is so interested in learning that they're going to leave social media to go actually read a foundation. So our job is not to be become the expert or try to say, I'm not going to use Dana Foundation, I'm going to learn this myself, or I don't want to point people over there, is to be that middleman, right? Saying, hey, I grabbed this information from the Dana Foundation. And there's no problem if we say that and we say, if you want to learn more, definitely go check out the Dana Foundation. Why? Because when people have positive experiences with you, it increases their likelihood of doing business with you. They could, message you a week later and go, Mary Jo, I just want to say thank you so much for pointing me to the Dana Foundation. There's actually a lot of work that they do that I align with, and I'm really excited because I want to get more involved in this next year, right? They're always looking for partnerships to partner with them for Awareness Week, and this is something I really want to do next year. And you could say, I love that. I'm so glad that you're passionate about that. I would love to partner with you on that for next March, right? And then you can talk about how Manatech as a business can really help them support that on a totally different level. So not only are you going to be giving, your audience more information and awareness about this, but you can also support them with products that align with it too. Every conversation we have and every time that we give somebody a good referral or recommendation, it always is building our credibility with them. But why I like pulling this here is that we want to make sure that we're gaining something from the interaction. If we just say, hey, go to the Dana Dana Foundation, or go to brainawareness.org to play some different games, people will think oh, that's great that they offered this. They're probably not going to go do it. But it's not serving you, even if they do. What's only serving you is they come back and tell you how amazing it really is, or it was, and the experience was, but otherwise they want to just engage with you in that moment. And I love that. I think that's so important, Mary Jo. She just said, for those of you that aren't following the chat on Zoom, she said, so funny, because I would immediately go to the Dana Foundation. Once again, do not rely on your limited thinking. What I think is so cool about so many of you at Manatech is that you're very similar in a lot of ways. And when we look at those color personalities, a lot of you are that green sort of personality that loves learning, that loves taking things to the next level. You guys are student mentality by nature. But majority of the population are so lazy that they're never going to take the extra step that you do, right? And so, they just want to stay on social media, right? Because why we also go to learn more things is because we have an invested interest in these topics, right?
Mhm.
You may go to the Dana Foundation because it supports something in your business, right? So you're like, oh, I want to learn more about this because this intrigues me. I'm really into health. But if somebody posted something about National Donut Day, you may not go Google something about Donut Day or go to some page that gives more information. But if there's a fun little quirky game that somebody's playing in their stories, you may be more inclined to participate in that because you have no skin in that game, right? It's not something that you're overly interested in. And not a lot of people are overly interested in their health, which is so incredibly sad, but we have to sometimes keep that in mind as well. And so this was something, so you get to see all of this here and you're able to track, which is going to, again, like I said, help you in terms of who should I spend time reaching out to today, right? You could reach out to somebody that said truth and your conversation could be something like, hey, I saw that you got the right answer on this question. Isn't that so interesting? And you get into a conversation. Or versus, hey, Amanda, I saw that you voted myth on this when the answer was actually true. I thought the exact same as you. That's true, Mary Jo, also. Right? And so we can get into conversations now about how they engaged, or if somebody engaged with every single one, they're telling us that they are more interested in this topic, which is just putting little flags on people and going, ooh, this is somebody I definitely need to connect with. And then on the next page, you would just see, again, sort of the answer here. So we saw that question and you show this, they're able to have that gamification experience. So something that I added at the end of all the questions that we did, and I will say I used all of the flashcards in that particular game, but I wouldn't necessarily use all of them. I felt like it was a lot. And I looked at actually the insights as well to see how many people swiped away from the post. And it was still very, very low, but just a short game, like even something like 3 to 5 questions is most impactful. Joan said, it's so funny to me that so much of the information I give in my lives is just from Google. Anyone could find it if they wanted to. It was not something I learned while doing my degree in nursing, but most people just want to be fed. Exactly. And I love that. People go to restaurants because they just want to be fed. They don't want to do the whole cooking part themselves. There's so many times. How many times have you been to a restaurant, you've ordered something and you're like, I know I make this better at home. Derek,
Yeah.
my husband and I do that all the time. We're like, ugh, we make better this, or we could have just made this ourselves and it's just as good. But the reason why we go out is because we don't want to do the work. We just want to be fed. We just want to do something else during that time. We want to have fun or be entertained, or it's just something to do. And so a lot of times, yeah, people they're very lazy, and it's not in a negative way. It's not overly interesting to them. So one of the things you can do at the end of the story is just say, how did you do? Right? Great. I got almost all of them correct. I did okay. And I got most of them wrong. Most people put I did okay, because there was a lot of people that actually did get things wrong. And even though I posted them, I was intentional in not really, really reading them, because then I went back and I played because I was interested to see how much I actually knew and didn't know. And I was surprised how many I got wrong. And so there was there's a question about the spinal cord, and it said, truth or myth, does the spinal cord stop growing at age 5? And I said, well, that has to be a myth because I'm much taller than I am at age 5. And it was the truth. And I was so shocked by the information, right? And so there was a lot of fun things, but even I got invested into playing this game because I wanted to know how much I knew. And I think that's important too, is that it's not always going to be super interesting maybe to people, but their ego, their competitiveness comes into play too, which again is evoking emotion. That's what we want to do to our followers. We want to create some emotion and some energy in them. And so then anytime they vote on these two, you'll get to see the percentage of, what is the most likely. And then you also get to see who. So why is this important? we already talked about why it's important to see who. We can see who's engaging. These are people that are more likely to connect with us. But let's say someone, the most common answer was, I got most of them wrong. What information would this tell you about your business? Or what do you think that, how could you use that information? I got most of them wrong. Post in the chat. What could you do with that? Give you guys a second while I take a drink.
Wow, I have no clue.
That's okay.
I have no clue.
Well, one thing I would do. Yep, Mary Jo, how about a few quick tips? Let's talk. Follow up and see if they'd like more information in that area. It shows you that majority of my audience that is participating and highly engaged with me knows absolutely nothing about this, which means I can spend more time talking about this. I'm going to give some easy first steps. I'm going to ask them, I love all these. So what did you learn from it? I'd say that's okay and offer info. I didn't know much either until I started learning more. Yes, there's so many different solutions there that you guys are coming up with. You can go, great. I know that people don't know anything about brain health. So for the next few weeks, I'm going to focus on this. And I'm going to say to my audience, so last week we played a little game on my Facebook stories. And what we came to is that most of us don't know a lot about brain health. So this week I wanted to take some time to offer a few additional tips. And when I'm reaching out to those people, right, one-on-one, like Mary Jo said, and a few others, was just, would you like a few quick tips? You know, you realized that you didn't know a lot about this, but because you played, I'm assuming that maybe it's a bit important to you. Would you like to learn more information about this? It's a great starting point. And the same way, if someone said, great, I got almost all of them correct, it doesn't mean, okay, wow, now, I don't have to talk about this ever again because they already know. They're telling you they know because it may be an important topic to them. It's something that they're highly interested in, which is great because then you can go to them and say, like, hey, I love that you're so passionate about this. I am too, which is why I'm passionate about these products. Yes, and don't offer up a 2-hour seminar. No, nice, quick, short little things for people to engage with. This is why I love doing things like this in stories. And then what we did on the next page was now someone's going through this, right? So what's the experience that they're having in the moment? They're playing this game, they're learning something. Each question is triggering a different emotion and story in them. They're thinking about how this relates to them, their competitiveness and their egos coming out. All these different things are happening. And then you ask them, how did you do? And you're having them rate themselves. And they're seeing on the scale of how knowledgeable to how, like amateur they are or whatever within that thinking. How much do I know? Well, if I want to know more, on the next page, you could do a call to action, right? Oh, this was just another example of the percentages. So 60% said they did okay. 20% of people got most of them right. 20% got most of them wrong. So for people who participated on our page, most people were somewhere in the middle. So lots to learn, but lots they know. But on the next page, you want to do something that has that call to action. So it's going to be different for each and every one of you, but it could be like, if you're more interested in learning about this, like send me a DM or, grab one of our most popular bundles that supports and addresses brain, endocrine, digestive, and immune health. Right? It's bringing them right away to something that benefits you. And this is how you start to weave in your products, right? So I put, regardless of your results, these popular products address, these issues, because it doesn't matter if you were awesome at it or if you didn't know anything about it, because here's a really simple solution and step for you, regardless of where you are in this journey or understanding of brain health. Right. And so you can do things like that. And again, if you do this even in something like your Facebook group and you say, hey, I'm doing this fun quiz today in my Facebook group,
people still on. I think we
I'm
lost
still on.
I know, poor Lindsay. I wish I had her training materials. I'd finish. We only have 5 minutes left.
We had a bad thunderstorm last night. We lost internet until I got it back up just in time for this.
Yeah, great. No, this has been fun. You guys
Yes.
enjoy this? This is great stuff. Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Wonderful.
Powerful stuff.
Really is good. And keep it short, keep it quick, real quippy. I like the idea when somebody says, I'm okay. And I would go, is that the standard you want for your brain? Just follow me, question mark. You follow? You because so many people, they just go, hey, I'm okay. And then you want to make them think one level deeper to say, is that really the standard I want to apply for my brain function? I don't know. There she is.
I love when
Yay!
idea.
Zoom was like, Lindsay, you're talking way too much. You got to go. All right. Thank you guys for waiting. But yeah, how are we feeling about that so far? We're feeling good.
Powerful.
Yeah. Are we getting some ideas
very
like how
good,
we
yes.
can continue to engage people? Awesome. So I'm just going to quickly show you actually where those buttons actually, oh shoot, no. Gosh, I almost just ended the meeting. What am I doing right now? Self-sabotaging. Okay. Let me just move this around. Here we go. All right, present. Can we all see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So if you're like, this is great, but I don't know where these buttons are. So here's an example. So if you're on Facebook, so this is on your personal page, when you go to your story, you can click, there'll be a button up here in the left corner that's, or on the right corner, sorry. And I believe, I didn't take a picture of that one. So if you go click create story, let's see. Yeah, it'll at the very top right, it'll say stickers. Okay, if you guys have your phone, if you want to click that, it will bring this page up. So right here, do you see where it says poll? You'll just click that button and that's going to allow you to create that poll that I did that said vote truth or myth. So you can actually make this say anything. You can ask a question where they have to actually fill in the answer. That can be another one that you do. So there's a few here, right, that you can play with. So this is where you find it on Facebook. Instagram on a business account does have more. So this is the poll feature that we just talked about. We have the questions box. So this is, if you click them, you'll see what they do. You can type in a question and they have to write in their answer. So let's say you did this short quiz of like 3 to 5 questions. The last one, you could do a question box that said, if you want to learn, if you want to learn more about this, or if you want me to send you a message with more information, type like me below or write in your email address or whatever that is. There's so many different ways that you could use it, right? Because we want to be capturing as much information as possible. There's also a quiz feature, right, that you could also use where there is a correct answer. So you could do like a multiple choice question. There's hashtags you can add music. And then there's this one right here, which is super cool, which is the link button. Okay. And now all Instagram business accounts have this. It used to be you had to have 10,000 followers in order to unlock that feature of being able to link somebody to something directly in your stories. Because on Instagram, other than the link in your bio, there's nowhere else you can put a link. You can't, on Facebook, if you put a link in your post, someone can actually click on it and go to that website or whatever. You can't do that on on an Instagram post, right? And there's a few different reasons why. The most one that, marketers assume is that, again, Instagram doesn't want people leaving the platform, right? They want you staying there as long as possible. And so that's why I love bringing some information to social, not just pushing them outward. And we know that Facebook typically will in some way deprioritize posts that have links in them, even on Facebook, because again, you're saying, hey, leave Facebook, but Facebook's like, no, I need you to stay here, which is why I love at least giving a bit of information in the post that they can digest. We talked about last week, if you're doing, or 2 weeks ago, I believe, maybe it was last week, if you're doing a video, we know that the first 60 seconds are where people are the most engaged. And then, so you want to make sure, so when you click create story, there's going to be a button in your top right-hand corner, depending on where you're at, or if you clicked on Facebook, create, let's see. You clicked create story where there's text, you'll have to like write, let's see. How do you add? When I click to my, let's see. If you click from your camera roll, that's weird. It seems that it adds more options. So if you're clicking like create a text one, yeah, that's weird. I'm not seeing it allow you to add a sticker. But if you select a photo, then you can add one. Yeah, that's weird, but very weird at Facebook. But yeah, so on Instagram, you have all these additional ones. You can add that link, and you can add what you want this link to say. So it can be like sign up for my email list here, or join my Facebook group, or check out my website, or go and buy this product bundle, etc. So those are just some ways that you can add at the end of your something you've done in your stories, that action button. But any of these, especially like the poll feature, always add things like that in your stories, like do you agree or disagree, is this important to you or not? People want to engage with them, people will click them, it triggers the algorithm, you're going to get more attention on your posts, and it's providing you valuable information of what people think and also who's participating with you, which are some of the first people that you're going to want to follow up with. And so it's just some like overall tips there. Keep things fun and easy to understand. Pretend you're talking to a child. Don't get too sciencey. Don't make anything too long. It needs to be simple and quick, right? Because like Mary Jo mentioned, people's attention spans are like gnats, especially on social media. We know the average watch time of a video on social media is 10 seconds. And an engaged user is watching around 60 seconds, even of a 30-minute video. You're going to get some of those outliers, of course, who watch longer, but that's why the beginning always needs to really pack a punch and say everything you need to in the first minute. And then you can break it down in the remainder of the video. But we want to keep just things fun and simple, easy for people to read and click through. You can share and ask for personal stories. So for example, with Brain Awareness Week, I would be talking about, my concerns and my history with Alzheimer's and why that's important to me, which can evoke emotion in other people. You want to use all of these methods of national holidays, whether you're using stickers in your Instagram stories or quizzes, or you're just sharing information directly to your page, is to follow up with people who engage. And even Sona had actually posted on the Facebook, because I went there to say I had a tech issue on the Facebook Live that we're also streaming, is that April 7th is World Health Day. So stay tuned for more information on how we're really going to use this as a company to get people more interested and engaged in this. And it gives us that purpose of bringing attention, because it's not just attention to the products, it's attention to our story and our vision of why why this is important to us and why we started this in the first place. And yes, as Mary Jo mentioned, always make sure that you are within compliance, that you are using phrasing. This is why I love going to the website, especially, and using, like, if you're going to focus on a set of products, use the language that's on the page there. Make sure that you're using the FDA statement as well, just to make sure that you are compliant, and know that everything that is on the social media studio, all those posts that are always uploaded there, are all compliant because they are pre-approved by corporate. So any languaging that you see there as well, you always know is good to go. And when you're sharing your own personal story, you can share why this is important to you, and then share information from Manatech. Again, your job is to bridge the gap between you as a person and your story, and then bridging people over to Manatech as the expert, right? That keeps us in a really good place with our customers. It's, the most effective way to engage with our customers, but also keeps us safe as business owners, so that we know what we're saying is within compliance and we're not stepping out of bounds. So homework for this week is I want you guys to think about how can you start utilizing some of these national holidays into your marketing, specifically thinking about World Health Day. We're going to talk about it more in depth next week. So I want you to just do a little bit of light reading on it this week and taking from what we learned when we talked about how to do a launch, use some of those pre-launch questions. Ask people, you know, hey, everyone. So World Health Day is actually coming up in April 7th. And I was wondering, what's your biggest concern with health? Or are you concerned with your health? Is your health an important topic to you? What part of your health? Ask a lot of questions right now. Questions are easy to ask and they give you valuable information on what to post next, how to talk about something like World Health Day, and also what to follow up with your customers on. They're literally telling you what they want to talk about. Remember, I said this a few weeks ago, write this down. The best marketing is in response to our customers. That's why we start with questions. Because we don't know what our customers want to know. We need to ask them what they want to know. And then we get to go from there and have really engaged, highly specific conversations with highly targeted people. So ask a lot of questions this week. See what your friends and family and your customers and your followers on social media are interested in. Does this intrigue them? What do they want to change about their health in 2022? I know that's huge for a lot of people. We're thinking about our health more than ever right now, coming out of a pandemic. So ask those questions, find out, and then get ready to use those answers in next week's training. And then we have some events coming up for you. So put those in your calendar too, April 4th and April 7th. There will be 2 events. We'll give you guys more info on that very, very soon, as late as next Saturday, hopefully a bit sooner. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. I apologize for the tech glitch that was there. But glad that it kept you guys on. I was concerned that it kicked everybody off. So I'm really glad that you guys are all able to stay and hang out and chat with each other as well. We feel good about today's training. Some things we can walk away with, some ahas. Awesome. 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 Thank you guys for being here. And remember, action and activity is the way that we grow on social media and in our business in general. Showing up to the training is one small action. Now you got to go out there. We already know this, right? It's easy to talk to each other. We're already in this business together. Go start talking to people who aren't. Make that a priority this weekend. And yeah, have an amazing rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Bye, friends.